Hey, yo, clan, just listen to Thinking Basketball Podcast potential breakout players, and some of the San Antonio Spurs young players were mentioned starting at 22:12 minute mark. You may want to check this out. I actually will check this out.
I want some rest. Are we having fun yet?
All right, so big shout out to AJ here, or AJA? Not quite sure, but I really do appreciate it. If anybody else wants to send any content over, like things that you want me to react to or look at, please, you can send me a message on Twitter or Instagram via DM, or you can just do what AJ did here and just say Yo Clan in the comments and bring it to my attention. But the most efficient way, successful way, would be directly sending me a message and letting me know. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at clanthemerchfan.com if you guys want to support the channel. Link in the description, or become a patron or YouTube member, only $2 per month. All right, enough of that. All right, let's see. So if you guys don't know who Thinking Basketball is, they're a group that basically breaks down film. They're strictly about the statistics. They have opinionated pieces here and there, but it seems like for the most part they're pretty straight and narrow. I really do like their channel from the things that I've seen thus far, and they're stupid popular, so there's a lot of people that like their content. They talk about the Spurs here and there, more so now that we got Wemby, but I was not aware of their podcast. So we're going to take a look at that. This is their podcast here, and he says start at 22:12, so we're going to start, you start at 21:55, that's fine.
Throw you this alley-oop to start. How long have we been talking to start this episode? Oh, we're already like half an hour into the episode. What happened? I want to throw you a little Steve Nash lob action or something here, Cody. San Antonio Spurs.
Okay.
How many players from the San Antonio Spurs are you excited about? Just a reminder to listeners that Memphis Grizzlies former superstar backup point guard Tre Jones now plays for the Spurs. So Cody, I serve the.
I'm sure he misspoke. I don't. Yeah, he's thinking about Tyus Jones, in which he plays for the Wizards, I believe now. So I'm not sure what. I don't know.
Tennis ball back over to your side of the court. Is there a particular Spur or two that you want to talk about?
Did you mean to say Tyus Jones there?
What did I say? Tre Jones?
Oh, there you go.
Is he already on? He was already on the Spurs, right?
He was already on the Spurs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
You could see where I went wrong in that situation.
You throw me the lob. I'm taking my bat because this is baseball hour. I'm gonna crank this one out of the field right now.
No, tennis. Wait a second.
I'm gonna backhand this right into the opposite corner. Ben, Tre Jones, the brother of Tyus Jones, is definitely one of these guys that I'm going to bat for. I think Tre Jones. Ben, I have a fun little stat for you about Tre Jones, okay?
I'm sure he's going to bring up the assist to turnover ratio, which is really good from Tre. Like, I think Tre Jones is a really good facilitator, and I think he's perfectly fine in the future being a backup point guard, or, if the Spurs manage to, create a star or superstar in Jeremy Sochan or Devin Vassell, or they simply just get another person in that position to be a star, he would be perfectly fine, like, coming in as a starter. But me personally, the only times that I talk poorly at all about Tre Jones is when people, like Spurs fans, really put him on a pedestal, which I haven't seen a lot of as of late. But I'll just be honest in saying his 3-point shooting is really poor. Even when he's wide open, it's really bad. And I know that some people might, bring up Jeremy Sochan, and yes, he has to work on his shooting, but Tre Jones being the point guard and being a guard in this position, there's been many of times where I was just like, oh my goodness, his shooting is pretty abysmal. But hey, maybe having Wemby will help him, but like I said, wide open shots have not helped him. And then when it comes to Keldon, I gave him a little slack with his 3-point shooting, only because, eyes were definitely on him this season. So I don't know. Sorry, I'm rambling. What do they have to say?
So this is a guy that, like, last season, he was, I think this is the guy, right? No, okay. Sorry, I confused some of my numbers here a little bit. If you look at the last 10 seasons, starting with the 2013 seasons, okay, 92 guards during that time have shot over 83% from the free throw line over their career, okay, over the last 10 seasons, okay? 92 of them have shot over 83%. Tre Jones is 92nd on that list in terms of three-point percentage for his career. You go and you watch some Tre Jones possessions. This is a sub 30% three-point shooter. The only other guy that's under 30% that's shot over 83% is DeMar DeRozan. Somebody whose jump shot is, I don't think, is conducive to shooting threes. You watch Tre Jones possessions. I'm like, this guy should be able to be a solid enough shooter. I don't know if he'll ever get up to 40%, but I see no reason, based on the organization, the follow-through, things like that, why he can't be in the mid-30s, right? But beyond that, this is a dude that, unlike his brother, I think he's a lot more explosive, can get to the rim. I think based off of his athleticism a little bit more. I think he's a feisty little defensive player, but unfortunately, he's not like a very big person. He's like 6 foot, like flat 6 foot, not super long arm span. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of growth in terms of his jump shot. I think his passing game, he's got down. His brother is one of the most underrated point guards in the NBA. I don't know, man. It's this fertile ground for the growth of the Tre Jones era in San Antonio.
Tre Jones
I love
era?
this. I mean, what are we going to do with the bingo card this season if Tyus Jones and Tre Jones are both on the Cody bingo card? It's family love. It's unbelievable. And I even subconsciously announced it before tossing it your way. I'm sorry about that. Tre Jones, if you look at his rolling EPM, estimated plus minus, it's just a one number metric trying to summarize play, and you look at, as it rolls throughout the season, some 5 or 10 game moving average, he has a spike at the end of last year. He kind of goes, steady as she goes until about March, and then he upticks at the end of the season. I love stuff like that at the end of a year, going into a new year. And in his case, he's 23 and a half. So, my question to you is, how does his brother coming in influence his opportunity to make, like... Wait a second. Where?
I am so confused. What is he talking about? His brother, Ty, is coming to San Antonio. I don't even know what we're talking about. Okay, this is my take thus far. Okay, these guys, they're phenomenal. Okay, super smart. Smarter than me. I know that they're smarter than me when it comes to basketball. I'm sure. After seeing their channel and everything, they're super smart. But I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I don't think that they've seen a ton of Tre Jones. Like I said, they're very by the numbers type guys. Or at least from when I see like the YouTube channel, it's always by the numbers, and it seems like this is no different. I'm gonna be honest. Me watching Tre Jones, he is a good player. He holds things together. He's a glue for the team. He's definitely a glue for the team. But man, Spurs fans are biting tooth and nail for somebody like Blake Wesley to come in or someone to replace Tre Jones. Spurs fans are not as excited or hype about Tre Jones being the future of San Antonio like these guys might be. To say this we might be seeing the Tre Jones era is just kind of insane to me. I think he's a really good player. Like I said, I want him on the team. I think he helps a ton, especially on the pick and roll with Wemby. He's I don't know. He just reminds me more of a Corey Joseph type role for the future, and not necessarily a upcoming Tony Parker. I won't even go as far as say like DeJounte Murray, honestly. So I don't know.
Does his brother play, Cody? What's going on?
Tyus Jones is going to Washington.
Tyus
Jones is in Washington. Okay. Tre is the only Jones in San. You need to be keeping up with the Joneses better here, Ben. This is pathetic.
I'm so confused. I'm like not confused, but I'm saying things that are confusing me.
Why does he keep doing that?
Okay. The guy I thought, Cody, the guy I thought that you were going to
Devin.
be more excited about
Devin.
from the Spurs, another one of these candidates from this team,
Devin.
is Keldon Johnson.
Keldon?
What's your take on him?
Over Devin?
How do you feel about him?
My thoughts are complicated because it does tie into like my Devin Vassell thoughts, who we can get to in a second. And I'm going to be honest with you, Ben. I've cooled on him since the last time we spoke at the beginning of the season.
Devin.
Yeah, Devin.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think we mentioned that in an episode between now and the beginning of last season. But I feel like Keldon is a guy that maybe we haven't talked as much about. He's also 23 years old. He's got like a bowling ball out there, kind of like pounds around and and moves through people and things like that. But he's got an interesting game. My question looking at all these Spurs is like same thing with Vassell. It's like, where is the actual improvement going to come from?
Yeah, so Keldon, like, he's not a great passer. Like, he can make some passes, but there's nothing that screams to me that he's ever going to be like a lead creator type or a guy that like I really even trust as a secondary action type. Really physical driver. Like, I really enjoy his driving game that way. The jump shot is pretty inconsistent. I don't know off the top of my head, but I don't recall the 3-point percentage being great. And defensively, I actually don't know what his reputation is. I feel like I see it both ways, but I've never been like super impressed with him on defense.
Okay, yeah, they haven't. And look, it's one of those channels and podcasts where they have to keep up with the entire NBA. Okay, I do not envy that whatsoever. Like, over here, we can just focus in on the Spurs, dabble into other teams here and there, and we're Gucci, right? So as far as Keldon is concerned, I'm very shocked that they're bringing up Keldon. You guys know my feelings on him. I don't necessarily think that he has improved. I think that he was just exploited a little bit better or more this last season, only because he was like our main guy. Like, I don't feel like Keldon has gotten any worse. I don't necessarily think that he's gotten that much better either as far as like watching his game. The only thing that I can say he gotten better at is I think his strength has improved just a little bit. But overall, he's still the same player he was when he came into San Antonio, which is fine, like a fine role player. As far as him saying he doesn't know his defensive, like how he is defensively, I mean, we all know that he's not a good defender, right? He's very flat-foot, can't really stay in front of his guy too often. He has the frame and the speed typically to be a good defender, but his lateral quickness just isn't there. So I don't know. It's pretty not great when you're trying to key in on Keldon, but he shouldn't be the one that you're stupid excited about. I'm kind of confused on why they're not like straight up diving into Devin Vassell. Honestly, he's the one that you should be really excited about because he made a huge jump from the season prior.
I just don't necessarily know if he and Devin Vassell, like, I don't want to try and start like a new Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum type of thing, but I don't necessarily see like the viability of both of these guys together because they kind of, I don't know, they have some weaknesses that overlap. Their skills don't necessarily enhance the other one. So I don't know.
That's not true at all, dude. I really don't think they paid attention. I mean, they definitely, Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson, at least in my opinion, and if anybody in the comments have something different to say, please say so. But I think they complement each other extraordinarily well, actually. With Keldon Johnson, he's most comfortable attacking the paint. Yeah, he could work on his passing a little bit, but attacking the paint is his thing. Devin Vassell, he's a really good catch and shoot scorer if you need him to be. In Keldon, when the heat isn't necessarily on him and the defense isn't 100% focused on him, he's a pretty decent 3-point shooter in those situations. I think that he's just kind of exhausted himself this past season. But yeah, I think they complement each other very well, and the things that they do are different. Like, I think Devin Vassell is more of a create my own shot type of guy. He actually facilitates very well for his teammates. Like, Devin Vassell, he kind of reminds me of Lonnie Walker in that you wouldn't expect him to be a really good passer, but he has a lot of glimpses of him being a really good passer. And then when it comes to Keldon, he's just more of a brute force, nasty guy that brings the energy. So I think that they complement each other very well. I don't know where he's going with this.
I like Keldon Johnson. I think I'd almost like to see him in a different team, though.
Well, we've seen a good amount of growth in the last couple of years. I mean, he did average 22 points a game last season. But as I said in that episode 4 years ago, if you can make a jump, and I'm not going to put an exact number on Keldon Johnson, but if you're like the 80th or 100th best player in the league or something, and you can become the 40th best player in the league, that to me is a huge deal. It's going to move the needle more than going from like the 300th best player to the 150th best player or something like that. And similarly, if you are a top 70 or 60 player and you can get close to all-star level, that's enormous to me as well. There's one more guy quickly I want to hit on while we're on the Spurs. Just a weird defensive jackknife player. We've talked about him before, but like Jeremy Sochan, how do you, especially with someone like Wembanyama coming in, how do you project forward, what would his year 2 growth look like?
It's a really tough question. Like, what beyond just like being like a big hustle dude, grabbing a lot of rebounds, what about Sochan to you screamed like, oh, he's going to be able to show off like a jump shot. He can have a little bit of creation chops, because nothing really like comes to mind when I think about it.
He's a phenomenal passer. What do you mean?
I think the shooting is the issue, and he's in my sort of experience historically with rookies who can already pass a little bit and have some ball handling and are
Not a little bit.
cutting around.
I mean, he's a really good passer. I think Jeremy Sochan's a really good passer.
And grabbing rebounds.
He threads the needle.
They might not necessarily have an improvement in the next year because they're already, it goes back to an older player like Keldon Johnson. If you're already comfortable physically, right, you're already a good athlete, you're not going to necessarily fill out or something like that, and your shot doesn't come, but you can already dribble and move around a little bit, that's where I go, okay, I wouldn't be surprised to have year 2 be very similar offensively for him. It's the defensive question, like can he, how do you make that jump into year 2 defensively versus just slow and steady? By the time you're 25, you're like a really smart, good NBA defender.
I'm so confused. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. Are we saying that? Are we assuming? This might just be me being slow. Are we making the assumption that Jeremy Sochan is not a good defender, or does he need to make a jump? He was the best defender on our team last season. He can guard 1 through 5. There were many occasions in which he locked down like people like Lillard, like late in the game, right? It wasn't like the whole game, but yeah, I mean, percentages against him are really low. Like LeBron James averaged like 20%. He had like 20% when guarded by Jeremy Sochan. So I don't know what we're going on about. Honestly, we'll see. Hold on.
That's where it gets tricky for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think with all of these guys, too, having somebody like Victor Wembanyama come in, who I think is going to come in as like a really solid defensive player, if nothing else, right? That's going to be something he brings.
Well, yeah.
And I think that's going to sort of help a lot of these guys organize.
What? Okay. No, I don't think I'm misunderstanding what we're talking about here. Jeremy Sochan is a really good defender. I hope that they're not trying to say that he's a poor defender. He's a really good defender. He doesn't need saving. Like us as a whole, defensive team as a whole, yes, we were pretty poor defensively as a whole. But Jeremy Sochan himself, he was really good. And another thing that hurt the Spurs was the fact that Devin Vassell was out for a good chunk of the season. So, and he would probably be our second best defender. I would make that assumption. Maybe he's our second, and then Zach Collins after him. I'm not 100% sure, or maybe we'll say Tre Jones after Devin Vassell. I have to look at the roster again. But overall, all I'm saying is Jeremy Sochan was a phenomenal defender. He didn't need saving from Wemby, but he is going to look even better. But I don't know.
A bit more, have like a consistent like big man that's probably going to be able to pop and give them a little bit more space. Is going to be able to clean up some mistakes defensively. So I think in that sense, even him coming in should give all of these guys just a little bit of an improvement. But I'm not sure. I think Tre Jones to me is the only one of them that I can like really see a clear pathway to getting a lot better. For the record, the Keldon Johnson thing, I know he has a record of like being a good 3-point shooter, but there seems to be a little bit of variability, and I'm not convinced that he's like a knockdown secondary playoff somebody else type of 3-point shooter. Just for anyone that's going to nitpick that.
All right, who do you want to go to bat for, Cody? Let's get serious. Who do you think has a good chance to be a big riser in 2024?
You know,
I mean, I don't think there should be any answer other than Devin Vassell or Jeremy Sochan. I mean, on this roster, I'll just be real.
What I said, one of my guys. Give the people one of your opinions. How about you give me one of your going to bat guys?
He doesn't know the Spurs that well.
I will. Well, so we talked about some players who I think have a good chance to break out when we did our redrafting of the last 3
Is this it?
drafts, right?
Yep.
So we'll mention those as we go through this, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on them because we've already talked about them. I can't remember. Did we have Jalen Williams in that draft?
Okay, they're done talking about the Spurs, I'm assuming. All right, so my thoughts on it. I think overall they didn't know a ton about the Spurs, and that's fine because, like I said, they're one of those channels that's all over the place. Me personally, if you're asking me who I think has like the most, who could make the biggest jump, that we could see is probably going to be Devin Vassell. I mean, he already made a huge jump, but we just got like a sample size of it. So seeing him consistently probably is going to be pretty impressive. Keldon, I don't think, as long as I've been watching him, I don't think that he's made a big jump from season to season. I think that he does a specific thing, and he does that specific thing well, and that's just the type of player he's going to be. Obviously, improving his basketball IQ over the years and stuff like that, but there's nothing that stands out to me where I'm like, oh, Keldon Johnson, he's going to be, if he adds this, if he adds that. He doesn't really create his own shot very well. He's more just a brute force when it comes to getting to the rim and all that good stuff. Not a lot of creativity from Keldon, which you don't necessarily need, especially if you're surrounded around stars and other guys that can create their own shot. He is just complete icing on the cake. That's perfect for the team, I think. And emotionally, I think that he can be the heart, him and Jeremy. As far as Tre Jones, I don't know why they were so hooked on Tre Jones. I really do like him, and I think that he is a good glue guy. But when we're talking, I mean, it was almost as if they put Tre Jones up here, and then when they talked about Jeremy Sochan, it was just like, oh, what can he improve? I don't know. He's not a good shooter, but it's like he's a really good passer and he's a really good defender. Why was that not brought up? And then to say that Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell are very similar or they don't complement each other, well, I don't comprehend that. I don't see that at all. I think that they actually complement each other very well. So I don't know. Very, very strange. But hey, you can't be accurate with every single team. I mean, people are just now paying attention to the Spurs, so it's fine. Anyways, I'll give it to you guys later. Till next time. Bye.